So I took this picture with a digital camera when I was up north. Not that you care to know that, but this is also a picture of, I believe it's some sort of camp I was as a child. I scanned this photo in. I like the greens, just like the overall look of this picture here, especially like in the trees. I like this effect, and I'll maybe use that for something else, like being able to color trees in another project. But for right now, I just want to apply this overall tone, this brightness, this warmness to this photo here. So the method I'm going to be using is from Piximperfect. He is a god tier Photoshopper. I've learned from him for years and years and years. He has a lot of videos out for a wide variety of things, not just like, oh, here's how we're going to add text. No, like he goes in depth with all these like tools that I've used forever, but never fully understood how to use them and all the little like nooks and crannies of that tool. But he has a tutorial right here. It's called Steal the Color Grading from Any Image with Photoshop. That's the one I'm using. I noticed that he does have a lot of other ways to do this, but I'm just going to be using this one. I'm going to be cutting here and there just to reference the video, but the initial thing of it is we're going to go here. And so what he does in the video is he goes to File, Export, and then Save for Web. And then when you go to Save for Web, you get this color table, but then you can tell it, and I believe this is only in the GIF format. Maybe PNG can do it. Yeah, I guess PNG can do it. So you'd set it to something like 3, right? And then you get, the three main colors in here, or at least the 3 colors that it can use to build up the image, which is all fine and great. But I wanted to try a different way, and it's a way that I maybe showed in a different video. But we're gonna go to Edit, Image, Adjustments, and then we are going to Mode. It's Mode. Yeah, Mode. And then index the color. So what's the difference? Probably nothing, actually. Let's give it a shot. And yeah, absolutely nothing. So you're going to get about the same color from if you do either way. The other thing I was going to check, though, is if you do this sort of mode, you can't save this out as a color palette. So I'm assuming it does the same thing. So if we, not quick export, but if we go to, let's see, what was it? It was export and save for web. If we go to save for web, what we can do is set this to 3 colors. And I suppose, okay. So you can do the same exact settings, and I suppose it's doing the same exact thing too, as indexing the color. But we're going to just take this color, and then we're going to save it. So we're going to save the color table. It's going to save here. I'm just going to go to the project folder. Okay. So once we're done, we can cancel out of that, go back here. And what he does is put on a color gradient. So we're going to do that same thing. And then, let's see how he applies it. Okay, gotcha. So we're not just using this. We are going to also open up the swatches panel, something that he does. There we go. And then I don't like having all the swatches. Maybe I can reset it later, but can I just... Okay, I guess I can't. I'll just look for it manually. And something that he also noticed, or that he also said, is that by default it's going to look for swatches. You just have to set it to look for a color table, because that's what we exported. So we're going to load that in, and lo and behold, look what we have here. So that's pretty nice, actually, especially since it's the same way that you index color, because that's something that I would do, is I would use the index color to create color palettes. But if it's going to be all the same settings at the end of the day, then I suppose it doesn't matter. But we are going to first invert I guess it doesn't matter. So first, this is going to be the darkest color, because it's on everything on the left is going to be the darkest color, everything on the right is going to be the lightest. So I'll just select the darkest color here. And then another thing that the video says is to look at the brightness, which is right here, 31. I suppose I shouldn't have canceled that. Let's do this and then hit OK. And then the location right here, it's at 0. You want to set that to 31. So whatever that brightness value is, that's what you're going to set it as. And then let's do the same thing for the highlights. Go there, and then we're going to look. The brightness is 81. So we're going to set the location to 81. Same thing for the middle. Let's do this middle color. It's nice green to wrap it all up. And that is a brightness of 53. So only slightly. We're going to move that over. Okay. So that's pretty much it. That's the basic effect. He also says to put it to soft light. So let's do it before and after. That's before and that's after. So if we look back at this original image, it's not exactly close. We could probably bump up, and honestly, that's because if you look here, there's a lot of like the whites and grays, the bluish grays, and the reds here that are not evident in this photo. What we could do is a color or selective color and boost this to be a little bit more red. Maybe match the color well, but there is a second step to this. We're going to go here, and then we're going to eyedropper some of the brightest parts in the scene. So he said, like if you're going to do a skin for skin, you're going to want to match those colors. I blurred out the faces for privacy reasons. But we're actually not using the skin for the brightness. We're actually using the environment, and especially these greens. So what I'm going to do, I think, is just select one of these brighter colors. And then if we look here at the sample size, it says point sample. What that does is it takes that exact pixel. We don't necessarily want that. Let's do like a 3x3 average. So that's going to get us a better image. So I'd like that color. So we're just going to use the brush tool. And then let's just grab the hard round brush. Yeah, do something like that. Sorry about that. So yeah, that's the brightest color. The other thing, we're going to do the dark and the light color. So let's look for a good mid-tone. I'm going to use like this dark, which I know is a branch, but it's fine. So let's just grab something like this for the mid-tone. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then let's grab these like inner workings of trees, which are kind of just branches. And that looks pretty black, but that's fine. I would like it to have some sort of green color, but that's pretty much the color map that I want for the foliage. So let's paste that in here. And then let's do something. So he said grab the curves. And I mean, end of the day, I'm just following a tutorial here, but I just think it's interesting because one thing I'm kind of obsessed with right now is like the old picture, like the actual rendering, I suppose, of old pictures, which also includes the color schemes, which they have very striking color schemes. Like this is a very like obviously, you know, like if we look here, it's like not the best quality, obviously, and then we have some sort of like ghosting motion blur in the background, but it just like this is a picture from, I want to say like 06 maybe. So it has like the actual rendering, the way that it looks, has the effect of an older picture because it is an older picture. It has the effect that I'm going for, this retro style, because it is in fact retro. It is the style that the camera just shot at the time. So we're going to be on this picture now, and we're going to want to apply some levels here. Or not, I'm sorry, not levels, curves. That's some curves. Okay, so same thing. Make sure that curves are selected. We're going to select the light point, which is right here. Okay, and then we are going to select some of the highlights. So, I deleted that on accident. Let's just make sure that's good. And we're going to select that. Okay, cool. Same thing for the dark tones. We're going to select that. Nope, we don't want to save it. And then we're going to select maybe back here. Yeah, it looks good. And actually, hold on. Let's just click around and see what happens. I want it to be striking like this, and actually, now that I'm looking at it, it does kind of match. select that, and then, you know, because if we select this, it's going to go all wild, which that does actually look kind of cool. That could be a cool effect for a later time. But we're going to want to select some of these darker points. Like right here, we know for a fact is going to be dark. And then last but not least, this one should change it the most, to be honest. What would be just gray? This kind of looks great. Changed it the most, but not in a good way. We want this. Okay, hold on. Let's think about this rationally. Okay, so we're gonna select what is going to be gray in the image, or what is gray in the image, and this looks about right. It's changing it way too much. Don't like that. I don't like that. I know there's ways we can actually find how gray it is, but for now, let's just find something that looks somewhat right. Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's select this. This is what the image says it is. Maybe let's try this. Let's just get rid of the gradient map for now, and then select curves, and then this midpoint, and then we want that to be the midpoint. And let's see what it does. Okay, yeah, that's a little bit better. I suppose using it not in the curves library, or like not underneath all this other stuff, works out pretty well. So he would set this to soft light, and we can mess around with what we like the best. But if we want to match that other image, it has to maintain a certain level of vibrance. Luminosity kind of does something. Flattens out the image. That's kind of what that does. Let's find something we like. I mean, yeah, I suppose soft light. And then let's just ease back on this, right? And then let's grab this. So let's see the before and after. So this is before, that's after. And actually what we can do is delete this. So that's before and that's after. I'm not super thrilled with the results, but we can use a little bit of visual. Let's delete that. We can use a little bit of visual trickery and whatnot. So one thing I like about this is that the it doesn't look color shifted. Like you see how this white looks pretty white, and if it is shifted a little bit, it's not anything crazy. So let's see here. Now that we're at this point, let's shift this. Actually, I like the orange. Let's just go to the color balance. What I'm seeing here that I don't like is the midtones. I know I shifted them in the curves, and if I was to turn off the curves, it might look a little bit better. I do like the effect that it gives with that, and then let's turn that on. Yeah, it's just too green in the mid. So let's go to the midtones and just add a little bit more magenta in there. And do we want to shift it somewhere else? Because like I'm looking at this bark, and that's I guess a little bit more dark. But if we shift that red, the bark would shift red a little bit. And this kind of looks a little bit more like that. It's just the green. It's like if you look at this, the greens are green and the reds are reds, the blues are blues. It's like it's very clear and concise. This not so much. Let's add a vibrance if that's the case. Let's just add vibrance to it. So if you see a before and after, we can see that it's very, very clear now. I don't like the fact that this is so red now. So let's just push some cyan into it. And this background's more of a green. So let's see. So this push it. Yeah, okay. I still don't like that. And I guess I could it's pretty separated. I could, because do I like it before or after? I suppose I like it after. So that was the before, that's the after. And I'm not using the color trick exactly how he's doing it. Maybe it's just a bad picture to start with and a bad picture to transfer it over to. But I think this is we're getting close. We're getting close. Let's add a selective color. Let's see, what is this? Does it just select or what? Okay, anyway. This is more reds. That's gonna affect the flower more. So I guess we could mess with that a bit. We do want it to be more orange than anything else. It's too much. That's, yeah, okay, now we're getting sort of bright. So that's before, that's after. Making sure that pops more, kind of like the other picture that I'm referencing. The greens, I want to be a lot more green. So let's just remove some magenta. And you can see that that is adding green. Let's shift to yellow. If we boost the yellow, it's going to be a lot more green. Let's fuck with the cyan a bit. If we boost the cyan, we get super, super robust green. It's kind of what we're looking for here. And then this background, this is probably going to be more of a cyan. Let's see, yeah. It's more of a cyan, but let's shift it more to green. So let's remove some magenta. Shift more to green and probably more to blue. So let's add some cyan. If we get rid of it, if we add some, you know, do that. I just want it to be separate from the background. There we go. Yeah, let's add some. We're adding blue okay. So just real quick, if you don't understand, if you haven't used this specific selective color before, because it is kind of hidden, it's not. I don't think it's in the. I suppose it is. That's nice. So I've never selected it from here, but down here, if you go to selective color, you can essentially just choose any color of the scene and mess with that. And if you know the color in real life or the color that's being presented to you, you know how to shift it to something else. So like this is cyan back here. If we turn this off, it looks the most close to cyan in this pile. It could be blue, and it probably would shift a little bit. But like if you know, if you're editing grass or something, ironically, I don't know if the word's ironically, but you do have to select yellow for something like grass. For this green, this is very heavily green. So let's say these greens are too green, right? I want to add more of the opposite color, so like red. I want to add some more red to this. You just have to look at which color would create or add more like of a red tone to it, and the opposite of red would be, and it, you know, we don't see it here, so the opposite of the red would be cyan for the most part, right? So if we add more cyan, it would become way more blue. If we get rid of the cyan, and if we turn it on, right? If we add this, it adds so much blue to it that mixed with everything else becomes green. If we remove that, then it's adding more red to it. We could even further exemplify this by pushing magenta. The opposite of magenta is green, right? So if we don't want this to be green, we want it to be shifted elsewhere, we push it more towards magenta. Now we're starting to see those reds, right? If we want to shift to yellow, the opposite of yellow is blue. Blue doesn't really fit in with the yellow, or blue doesn't fit in with the green so much, or the red so much. So we're going to push this yellow, and now we're going to get this sort of yellow, and I suppose we could subtract it too. And, you know, so it's just, you can get a very, very different color just by messing with the selective color without really altering too much more of the image if this is the only thing that is that color. You can see the background is shifting a little bit because it has some green in it. But, like, I honestly kind of like this, not exactly more, but just, like, I might want to keep it a little bit more like this. So let's edit this a little bit. That's some green. So then the before and the after. So it's actually not so green. It's not so overbearing. But let's kind of want it to be a little overbearing, you know. And then I'm liking all this. I'm really liking all this. I just don't like this bark here. So what I'm gonna do is think about how I want to shift this, right? So I don't want this to have so much saturation. So let's add a hue and saturation and subtract. So that saturation, you can see the whole image is going down. The nice thing about this image, though, is that it is sort of easy to separate the elements. Let's see, lightness and darkness. Let's darken it maybe a little bit, so before and after. And then let's just fill this with black. I just have black. If you hit D, it resets your colors here. If you hit D, black will be on the background color. If you hit Control Backspace, it'll fill in any layer that you have with that background color. So we just essentially got rid of the adjustments that we made, but we want to add them back in where we want them to be, which is only right here. So you could probably do this by selecting the quick select, doing whatever, if it's a little bit more advanced. Let's just get this covered. And I'm being a little sloppy with it. And it's just, I didn't like that red that was in there, so I kind of wanted to get rid of it. And then we could even still, if it's still too much, we could actually, sorry about that, we could get rid of even more color, have it be pure black and white. But I do want to keep some color, And then I will be doing a selective color, or I'm sorry, a color. Jeez Louise. I will be doing a color balance also, just to try to fix some of this. And I will show. This isn't going to be perfect. It's fine. I will show how to copy a pre-existing layer mask that you have to apply to something else. So let's do what I was saying, a hue or color balance right here. So in these midtones, these are probably like midtones, maybe highlights. Let's get rid of some of this red. We want to make sure that this looks good. We don't really care about all of this. So let's see here. What do I want this to be instead of just kind of messing around here? Let's try to think about this. I want the midtones to be a little bit more blue shifted. No. Shadows. Shadows I want to be a little bit more blue, I suppose. I don't know. So I'm thinking, here, let's just do this just right away. So if we if we alt click on a mask, just the mask will show up. And it's actually can help because if we look at it without the mask, we can kind of just say like, okay, yeah, that looks good. We kind of got it all covered. We toggle it on and off. But if we were to alt click on this, we could see that, oh, we're missing a little piece up here. We're missing some down here. We just get that filled in. But once you're here, let's hit Control A. It selects the whole frame. Control C, Control D. Control copy, and then Control D is to deselect. So then now if we go to this color balance right here, it's the same thing. If we were just to alt click on here and bring up the color balance, we can just paste that color value into the mask layer. So now this color balance will only affect what we have masked out. So see, which I'll have to probably just fix. Jeez Louise. Fix the mask on just this color balance, but we can use it. Actually, so I'm noticing if we push the reds a little bit, we can actually get some decent contrast with color wise. Right. Let's go to the shadows. Let's see what happens if we push blue. Not so much. I do want to shift it towards blue a little bit, but not too much. Shadows and the highlights. Let's see how much that changes it. Okay, that's looking kind of good. Shift that one green. Let's push yellow. Nope, let's push blue. All right, so then the before and after. So that's before we did any adjustments, just messing with the hue and saturation, and then that's after. So we have a nice, green and then red contrasting tone here. So if we look at this image and then this image, they're not exactly the same, but you can start to see how the trees in the background here are being applied to this. See, the thing about this background image is that, or this the trees in the background here, is that they are very dark. The tree stumps are pretty dark, and this whole tree as a whole, it does not have that many highlights, whereas this is pretty much all midtones and highlights. So we can start to see here in the shadow areas and right here in the shadow areas how it would start to resemble this background here, but it's not exactly there because of just the image. And I could do some stuff like paint in more shadows, this, that, and the other, but as just a color grade itself, I think it's okay. Let's do a before and after. So that's after. So that's before, that's after. So definitely a lot more life in it. I'm still not totally happy about this. And actually, let's just try to fix that real quick. And it's purely just because it's too dark. I think I still have it. Yeah, okay. Let's do this. So that's before, that's after. I'm kind of liking that a little too bright though. It's a little bit too much. So let's just clamp it how it normally would. Then let's brighten this up. Maybe. Like that. And then I'll just do very, very subtle. Yeah. So I think that looks pretty good, actually. And then what we can do, something that I like to do is, this is a finished image. I would pretty much call it the finish. Let's even save it. So this is pretty good. Let's just Control J. So now, just in case like anything goes wrong, because I'm going to merge these. If anything goes wrong, I can always go back, edit, and just redo everything. So at this point, what I wanted to do is make a Sharpen Mask, which there's all these ways to do it. I just do it kind of the long way, a little bit more control over how things look. Let's convert that to a smart object just in case we don't like it later. We can change it. We're going to add a high pass and then just kind of edit it until we can see the details we want. And that looks about good. 7's fine. We can always change it later. That's why we made it into a smart object. Let's just do like an overlay or soft light. Or maybe vivid. We're just going to look for one that looks kind of nice. Let's see the before and after pin light. Yeah, it didn't change anything. But if we do overlay, let's take a look here. From the distance. So, okay. This all looks pretty good, but then if we turn it off and on, we can see how much it actually changes everything. Which I don't necessarily like it in the in this area. So actually what we can do is just select this, copy that, paste this into this mask here, but then invert it because we want everything else to have that effect, but not the tree. So let's take a look. Oh, that was wrong. So I guess we just pasted how it's supposed to be, right? Yeah, there we go. And then if we do this, add it back there. So the whole copy and paste trick is pretty nice. It just some effects show up at the seams more than others. Like if I think the levels or the color balance really showed up as a seam, but this Sharpen Mask doesn't show up that much, especially since the thing that it's next to doesn't have a lot of detail. So if we're to turn that off and on, we kind of get this effect that we don't like. I'm gonna switch that to soft light. It's a little bit too much. So we'll just bring it down. Or actually what we could try to do also is just use the whole underlying layer. We want this to show up in some of the brighter parts, but we don't necessarily care about the darker parts. So let's just split this and push it until it just kind of gets out of these darker parts like that. And then if we turn this off and on, it does change the vibrance of the whole image a bit. So let's just bring this, turn this group off and then bring the vibrance down a bit back to, or actually is that saturation? Just bring the saturation down slightly. That's still too much. Let's do this. Yeah, so that's a little bit better. It just kind of takes the edge off. So we have gone, let's see, of this group. Yeah, so we have gone from, why is everything off here? There we go. So we've gone from this, which, kind of looks nice. It could just benefit from a little saturation or whatever, to this, which I think has a very good balance of the sort of tones with how blue and green it is here, and then how the red orange flower with the red in the tree bark still kind of actually carrying over some of the green in this bark, which I could probably change, but I like this image. Going especially looking at this and then having it go from this to that, I think it's pretty good. So I think I'll end it here. It's pretty good. I like it. If we look at this old photo, it's not exactly the same, but I think it does serve as a good base. Serves as a really good base for how you want something color corrected. And I think if I would have used a photo maybe that had like a subject in it, like a person, it could have ended up better. Or I think it would work really well if you are transferring the style from the photo that you're okay. If you have the old photo like this, and I had a photo currently that I wanted to apply this color grading to, it would help if that picture had a subject, a human subject, with a background that is like trees or nature. I think that sort of style transfer would be really good. I think it's a little bit harder to pull off, or at least notice that it's the same color grading if the picture doesn't have that sort of stuff, because there's not a lot of like teal, blue, cyan in this image, but there's a lot in here, so it's hard to say that like, okay, but was that blue color grading from this image? Well, no, we kind of injected it with it, but ultimately it served as a really good base, I think. So that'll be it. Good luck, have fun in your personal endeavors, professional endeavors in general, and have a good night.